Can someone explain to me how it's already November? Things have been moving at such a pace that I just can't keep up. I even forgot to film a What's New from Hermes update for the month of October for you. Or it's not even that I forgot, but I thought I had a lot more time than I actually did, which means we have a lot to catch up on today, from the latest and greatest bag and accessory launches for November to some of my best shopping tips. I'm going to be sharing everything you need to know before your next boutique visit. And I also want to take some time at the end to share with you my first impression on some of the new bags that just walked the runway for spring summer 2026, pieces that are not in boutiques just yet, but they are worth knowing about and maybe even saving up for. So if you'd like to hear my thoughts on what pieces to buy at Hermes in November, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on marching. You know the drill by now. We start all of these videos with the newest shoe launches, and considering that we are deep into cozy season, I thought today we could focus on boots and some festive shoes, although I think it might be a little bit premature to start talking festive season. But to be honest, considering how time is flying, it will be Christmas before we know it. But let's start with boots, and why don't we switch things up and talk about men's shoes first, starting with a new pair of ankle boots for this fall winter season called the Limit ankle boots, which have a really clear utilitarian kind of hiking boot inspiration to them, and they feature this robust, chunky, notched rubber sole. These shoes are available in either Epsom or suede, and while they are very clearly inspired by a more utilitarian design, I don't think they would be the most hard wearing in suede. But if you would like to go for something more elevated, going for suede is definitely a great option. But if you would like to make sure that these shoes stand the test of time and you can expose them to all the elements, Epsom is of course a great, durable, hard wearing choice, but they are not inexpensive by any means. And while we are on the topic of suede, Hermes has actually two new shoes in suede, which I think they're going to be pushing not only for the fall season, but also for spring summer. And it is their Line Derby shoes, which, as I mentioned, are made of suede. And they have this really sort of modern and urban contrast rubber sole, slightly reminiscent of the Loro Piana summer and open walks. They're not only doing these in a derby style, but they'll also be available in a loafer. And they share the same H diamond embossing, which almost looks like a crest. I actually really like this new modern interpretation of the H branding. And usually I'm not a big fan of derby shoes. I think they can look a little bit frumpy when they're not styled well, but I could see myself styling these with a pair of corduroy trousers or a pair of sort of balloon shaped pleated wool trousers. Not something that I will be adding to my wish list, but if you love this particular style, this is something new for you to look into. And then before we move on to some shoes for women, of course, I had to mention the latest take on a pair of Kelly boots for men, which this season they're called the Jeff ankle boots, which of course feature the Kelly twist closure and a slightly lighter but still chunky looking rubber sole. The reason I'm saying that they are lighter is because I actually own a pair of similar shoes from Hermes, which are the traditional, I can't remember now what they were called, but I'll make sure to insert a picture here, which those shoes were so unbelievably uncomfortable because the sole had no give to it whatsoever. It just wouldn't bend, so I was kind of walking around like a duck in those shoes, and they were really, really heavy. So Hermes has made some improvements, and these new Jeff ankle boots are supposed to have a similar design, but they are equipped with a slightly lighter, more flexible sole. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on these shoes. They're not only available in calfskin, but also in suede. And with that, let's move on to some of my favorite shoes for women. Now, of course, you'll need no introduction to the jumping boots. I'm not going to go on and on about the latest iterations on the jumping boots for this season because it's something that we discussed in my last What's New from Hermes update, which must have been for September. If you'd like to see the latest jumping boots, I will make sure to have that video linked up here for you. But there is one new design that I wanted to put on your radar, which is actually brand new. They have a very similar sort of inspiration to them as the jumping boots. Well, in fact, they are the jumping boots, but this time they feature a really sharp pointy toe, which does make them look a little bit more modern. But I am a big fan of the jumping boots across the board. They are doing some more slouchy takes on it. They're also doing one that goes above your knees, so there are plenty of boots for you to choose from, and they are a classic, iconic heirloom piece that you can rely on year after year. But if you're looking for something slightly more modern and also a lot more practical, I actually really like the Kelsey ankle boots, which they offer in a buttery soft suede in a beigey camel color, and they are a really practical but also unbelievably feminine take on a pair of Chelsea boots. They almost look like as if they had just extended a pair of loafers. I love these shoes. I think they would look beautiful with a pair of really simple jeans, a white shirt, and just a cashmere sweater wrapped around your shoulders. I think if you are into that sort of old money aesthetic, this is a pair of boots that you would really enjoy. And then I also wanted to mention some more festive shoes here in case you're already in the mood for the party season. They are doing some not so understated crystal embellished shoes with the figure artistic rhinestone pattern, which was originally a scarf print, with a pattern actually inspired by the experience of horse riding. So the idea behind this scarf print is that obviously it was featuring these different ropes and equestrian hardware, but the pattern was actually inspired by sort of the outline of the route that you would take with your horse inside their little terrain, and then this is now being reinterpreted as a pattern for shoes that are fully encrusted with itty bitty crystals, and they do a ton of different designs with this new pattern, including a pair of ballet flats. They're also doing the Joy shoes, which are some of the most elegant high heels that Hermes offers each and every single season. You can also find the Oran with these crystal patterns, as well as some wedges, which I don't personally love, but I think the ballet flats are a really sweet statement piece to have in your collection. And then last but not least, this is going to be quite surprising because the word sexy and Hermes shoes are usually not words that you would use in the same sentence, but they are doing this new pair of heels, which are called the Lipstick 105 heels, which feature an itty bitty micro Kelly buckle and all these really just flattering, really feminine woven leather details on the front that make these shoes look really modern, contemporary, but also quite elegant. So if you are a heel collector, but you tend to prefer designs offered by Louboutin or even Jimmy Choo, if you find Hermes shoes usually a little bit too old and dusty, this might be something new for you to consider for the fall winter season, considering that they are available in a beautiful velvety suede. Even though most pieces offered by Hermes are inspired by their equestrian heritage, I think one métier that they have made a little bit too abstract in the past couple of years is their silk pieces. They seldom do just some really simple traditional equestrian inspired scarves. Yes, they do have scarves inspired by equestrian details and horses. They haven't really been doing those really traditional old school country club like prints that they were so loved and known for. But for this current season, they have a new double-faced scarf in size 90 with this very traditional depiction of horses that still feels modern and relevant, but it definitely plays into this nostalgic old money aesthetic. I feel like the term Ralph Lauren Christmas is being thrown around a lot these days. If you love that aesthetic, I think this scarf is something that you will really enjoy too. It is a double face scarf, which means that even though It doesn't look or feel any thicker than a traditional silk scarf would. It features two completely different colorways on each side, so you're essentially getting a two-in-one. Not for the price of one, because these two double-faced scarves, I almost said two-faced scarves, but they're not two-faced, however, they are double-faced. They are slightly more expensive than a regular scarf would be in the same size, but I love this particular design. And speaking of Ralph Lauren Christmas, a piece that I'm sure you would love to find under your tartan covered Christmas tree is this new bookmark, which I think is so incredibly chic. It is the Sau de Page bookmark, which is not brand new for this season, but I have not had a chance to tell you about it yet. It's something that Hermes has been doing for, I want to say, at least a year, and it is a handmade bookmark made of epsom that features this really abstract but really clever take on a horse head. It costs 250 euros, which is definitely a pretty penny for a bookmark. But if you're looking for something really special to add to your own wish list for the holiday season, or if you're looking to treat one of your friends or loved ones to something in an orange box, but something that they might not want to spend their own money on, this would be an incredible piece that I think most people would have a use for, unless they are strictly Kindle readers. But I love the look of this. I find it so unbelievably elegant and sophisticated, and they do come in quite a few different colors, including black, a taupe, but also some more vibrant and interesting colors. Speaking of interesting accessories, let's move on to some beautiful gloves. And when you hear gloves, you might be thinking, gee, that is so unbelievably boring. But let me tell you, there's nothing boring about these two upcoming designs. One of the pieces is something that has been on my wish list ever since I saw them on the runway, which are the Leonton arm cuffs. And they are basically a pair of glossed lambskin fingerless gloves with this really, really long ribbed cashmere sleeve detail, which I cannot wait to try on. I hope they'll be available in a few different sizes, but to be honest, my forearms are not that wide, so I think I would be able to make them work in pretty much any size. But they are technically part of the women's collection, and I've seen them in a taupe and chocolate brown, but I really hope that they'll also be available in either black or burgundy, because I would love to add these to my collection and layer them over a chunky cashmere knit. I think they are so unbelievably chic. And then another style that I think a lot of people will really like the look of, the price tag perhaps not so much, but they are doing a pair of suede cashmere lined gloves with a double tore leather Kelly detail and a removable strap. So if you are looking for a true statement piece, something that is definitely a large investment but is guaranteed to turn heads, this would be a good one for you to consider, because you do get that removable shoulder strap. So if you never want to lose sight of your gloves, that could be a really elegant and elevated way of carrying them around. I know that these phone straps and phone lanyards have been a huge trend, but if that's not something that you want to embrace, instead you would rather have a pair of 2,000 euro Hermes Kelly gloves thrown over your shoulder. These are available now, and I really love the look of these. I actually really appreciate that Kelly double tour detail, which also reminds me of the new Kelly clutch bag that's launching for spring summer 2026. It's somewhere between the traditional mid-door clutch bag and maybe a Kelly cut, just because of the Kelly buckle. I don't have official press pictures just yet for spring summer, so I'll make sure to have some pictures put in here from Instagram, and I will make sure to credit the person that they are from. But that is a new clutch bag that's launching for spring summer 2026. But while we are on the topic of gloves, something that has been incredibly popular from Hermes for decades is their glove clips, especially in Japan. Please let me know if you are a viewer of mine from Japan. Are these glove clips still very popular? I know that for some reason they were incredibly popular for many, many years, even on the secondary market. But for this current season, Hermes is offering a CDC inspired glove clip in Swift with gold, rose gold, or palladium hardware for the humble price of 500 euros. But if you have a pair of really expensive gloves that you do not want to lose, having a glove clip in your collection will not only help you accessorize your bags, but also keep track of your gloves. And then last but not least, when it comes to interesting accessories, I wanted to put this cap on your radar, which is not a brand new design, but it is new in cashmere for this season. Hermes is going to be doing these caps in 3 different colors, in black, in gray, and in biscuit. It is a unisex design. Not that most things aren't. You can buy whatever you want as long as you feel that it suits your proportions. But this is a new cap that is inspired by their iconic Evelyn bag. So the big majority of the cap is made of cashmere. It features a Swift leather brim and then also this little Evelyn inspired H tag, which I actually find quite interesting. I have owned several caps from Hermes over the years, and while I don't find most of them really flattering, this particular design I quite like. If you've been around the block and you've been collecting Hermes for a while, I have no doubt that you've come across creations by Saint Louis, a brand owned by Hermes. They are not one and the same, but Saint Louis was acquired by Hermes, and they are a brand that's been around a lot longer than Hermes has. They are a heritage crystal maker. Every single one of their pieces is hand cut, and I think there are only a handful of people out there who actually know the recipe for Saint Louis crystals, because of course all crystals are essentially made of the same material, but they have different sort of proportions depending on the brand, and there are only a handful of people out there who know the exact recipe for Saint Louis crystals. That has remained the same for the past, I think, 500 years. If I'm not mistaken, Saint Louis was founded in 1586, and a lot of people will buy their Saint Louis pieces through their Hermes boutique. A piece that's particularly popular is the Saint Louis Folia lamp. I have unboxed the Folia lamp on my channel a few years ago. I have a slightly different version than what most people will buy, because most people will go for their portable lantern, which I never really understood the point of, because it is like an over $2,000 portable lamp that I doubt most people would want to use outdoor. But then if you're buying an indoor lamp, maybe if you use it on your dining table as a centerpiece, yes, I understand why you would not want to have a cord running down the middle of your dining table. But if you're going to use it as a stationary lamp, maybe as a piece on your nightstand or in your living room, I would encourage you to actually look at the corded lamps, which you'll get a lot more bang for your buck with those pieces. But considering that these lanterns are so popular, Hermes has just launched a mini version of the iconic Folia lamp. It's available in 3 different metal finishes, in copper, gold, and silver. And the idea behind this Folia pattern is that it really helps to magnify the light that exudes from the inside of these creations. But when they call this a mini lamp, they actually mean it, because even though this lamp is under 1,000 euros, I think it's 950 euros to be exact, it is half the size of the previous lantern, which I think is just under 12 inches, whereas this new one is under 6 inches in height. So it is really tiny. But if you're looking for some really cute itty bitty pieces to add to your collection, this is something that I thought you would enjoy knowing about. And with that, let's move on to some new bags, starting with a piece that's somewhere between a bag and an SLG. So it's definitely not something that you'd have to be a really valued customer for. Not that anything is easy to get from Hermes, but this is not a quota bag by any stretch of the imagination. It is part of the Zipengo range, which is quite an extensive line. It includes wallets, card holders, even pouch bags. But the latest addition to this line is actually quite unique, and I really like the look of it. It is the Shandong Zipengo pouch bag, which measures just about 20 centimeters. It has a Shandong inspired zip pull, and it comes with a really, really thin shoulder strap. It kind of reminds me of the Kelly Elan, but it actually feels a little bit more elevated and minimal to me. I think if you like pieces along the lines of the moon bag from the Veau, this could be a really interesting piece to consider. It's exclusively available in Ever color, and as I mentioned, it measures just about 20 centimeters. And as promised, let's end today's video with my first impression of some of the new bags and reintroduction of bags for spring summer 2026, and a little news update. The Hermes men's universe is finally getting, after decades, a new creative director. I have so much respect and appreciation for Veronique, but it's definitely a design, a métier of the brand that needs some fresh blood, and I'm so excited for the appointment of Grace Bonner, I believe her name is, who is an incredible young British designer. I cannot wait to see what direction she takes the Hermes men's universe in, and to be honest, their women's collection could also use a little bit of fresh blood. But we are here to talk about their bags, not their ready to wear, starting with the Kelly Dons, which was seen on the runway once again. I think the last time we saw this bag on the runway really wasn't that long ago. You know my thoughts on the Kelly Dons at this point. It's not my favorite design. To me, it is a jack of all trades, a master of none. It is this really square, unstructured bag that's more often than not offered in Swift or Ever color. I don't particularly like the proportions, and the idea is that it comes with a longer strap that you can twist and turn to make it into several different things. On the runway, it was styled as a belt bag, which might look decent as a runway piece, but in real life, I can tell you that this bag would be really, really annoying to style as such, because it is quite large. It would flop around too much, and it would just be really awkward to carry that way. I think most people will carry this bag as a shoulder bag, which looks fine, not my favorite, but to each their own. And it was shown in a new shade of violet, in a really vibrant shade of purple, and so was the So Kelly bag. That was a lot of so's in one sentence, but it's a design that was first introduced in 2008, and it was actually designed by Jean-Paul Gaultier. I mean, Hermes owes so much to JPJ. I doubt that's the case, but I really hope he still gets some commission from Hermes, because some of Hermes' most iconic interpretations, reinterpretations of the Kelly bag were designed by JPJs, this one included. It is a slightly more modern take on the So Kelly bucket bag, which was previously available in two different sizes, in 22 and 26. On the runway, this bag was shown in a larger size, which I would guess is closer to a size 26, and then there was also a smaller take on it. But what made it seem a little bit more fresh is the fact that the shoulder strap was a lot more seamless than it was before, because previously it was attached to the bag with two metal rings, whereas this time it is cut from the same piece of leather as the body of the bag, but it remains to be adjustable. If you love this design, I would highly encourage you to look on the pre-loved market, because at one point in time, these bags you could buy for pennies on the pre-loved market compared to other bags. I've seen this bag for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in incredible condition, but now that it's back in the spotlight, I'm sure that the pre-loved market will take advantage of the fact that more and more people will rediscover it. So if I can still find it in good condition at decent prices, I will make sure to link it down below for you. But just know that it is a design and a style that is making a comeback. There was actually a comment I got on my last video wondering if it's a style that I'll be adding to my collection, just because I've been loving that black slouchy bag from Fabrique so much. I don't actually think so. I'm so happy with that black bag that I have, but I'm definitely more open to it now than I was before. And then how could I make a video talking about some of the standout pieces without mentioning the new Doblis Birkin, which Doblis actually means suede. Hermes has definitely done suede Birkins in the past. It's something that I've been enamored with for years and years and years, but it's not a style that I have in my collection. I was, however, delighted to see it back on the runway in size 30. And if anything, Doblis this season looked a lot more velvety and a lot more soft, which does look incredible on the runway, but it makes these bags anything but user friendly because these are genuinely pieces that you'll have to shield with your life. Hermes did have the Grizzly take on suede Birkins. The difference between a Doblis Birkin and a Grizzly Birkin is that on a Grizzly Birkin, the body of the bag is made of suede, so Doblis, but some of the most used details on the back, so the handles, the flap, and the sangles are actually crafted from Swift, whereas a Doblis bag is fully made of suede, which makes it a lot more delicate and a lot more fragile because suede will absorb all the oils, all the grease, all the dirt from your hands. And when it comes to a Birkin, there's really no other way of carrying these bags other than handheld using the handles or grabbing these bags as a clutch bag, which is how they were also styled on the runway, which is something that you want to be incredibly careful with because once you mark and dirty a Doblis bag, there is no way back. Regardless, they are incredibly beautiful creations and they certainly add the most elevated texture to any outfit. A piece that we also got another sneak peek of, well, it's not really a sneak peek at this point because this bag has been around for a few seasons. It's a piece that I talked about in a recent What's New from Hermes update, which is the En Piste Clutch bag. It is inspired by the shape of a stirrup and it is an itty bitty micro bag. I mean, even smaller than a micro bag. It's essentially a glorified card holder because this will really not fit much more than a couple of cards and maybe a lip balm. If that, it's a bag that can be carried as a top handle bag. You can grab it by its body, and by the way, the handle is made of a solid silver frame inspired by the shape of a stirrup, and it also comes with a long strap, they call it, although it's more of a lanyard that in theory allows you to carry this bag as a belt bag. You can use it as a shoulder bag, or I've also seen people carry this as a little necklace, but I mean, I really think it looks best being carried by hand. What's shocking about this bag is the price because this particular piece is over $7,000. It's exclusively available in goatskin, and for this upcoming spring summer season, it will be introduced both with gold and palladium hardware. It's really not a bag that I would spend money on. If you love the look and the inspiration of this bag or what this piece would add to your collection, I would personally steer you in the direction of the Maximor bag, which I think would add a lot more bang for your buck to your collection. You're just getting more back for your money at the end of the day, but with that same almost sculptural, really creative metal handle. But in case you're interested, this is out now, which I think most people will carry as a back charm rather than a standalone bag. And I wanted to end today's video with this picture. Again, I will make sure to credit the person this picture is from, which I got so many questions on. I got sent this picture over and over again because it is a new exceptional take on the Kelly Pochette. This bag is going to be available in box leather. However, believe it or not, it's not a brand new design. This exact daisy pattern was previously available on a Sac Amalise bag, which that bag Hermes will usually offer in some really creative, more whimsical prints and finishes, and they've actually done this exact print on one of those bags. I personally was never really a big fan of daisies until Ariana Grande dropped a song called Daisy, which has become my favorite running song. If you haven't heard that song, I would highly encourage you to put it on your playlist, more so than how much I would encourage you to put this bag on your wish list, unless you absolutely adore the way it looks. I'm personally not big on florals, and this bag, I don't really appreciate the contrast of black box against these really delicate flowers. but if you do, just know that it is a bag that's going to be launching for spring summer 2026. But this actually brings us to the end of today's video discussing what's new at Hermes for the month of November. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts on these creations, and also let me know in the comment section if there are any other pieces that you're hoping to add to your collection before the end of the year. And while you're down there, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I really appreciate you being here and watching, and I cannot wait to see you back here with a bag review really soon.